Before I could bring myself to put my daughter's varsity softball jacket in the donation bag, I held on to it for about 15 minutes or so, just standing there holding this bulky jacket with a broken zipper. This jacket represented 18 years of our lives, but here's what I realized while holding it. I wasn't keeping this jacket for my daughter, I was keeping it for me. I was keeping it for the version of myself who found her purpose in being softball mom. And somehow donating this jacket felt like erasing her entirely. It wasn't just the jacket. All these objects are holding stories I'm terrified to lose. The physical clutter was manageable, but the mental clutter? It's exhausting. So I believe it's not really the objects we're holding on to, is it? It's the past roles we had, the chapters, and the fear is if we let go of the thing, we lose the story and the person we were in it. And I kept asking myself, how do I honor who I was while making space for who I am now? The answer for me turned out to be a simple practice I call Keepsake Journaling. If you're in your 50s, 60s, or beyond, and you feel a little lost without your old roles, you're exactly who I had in mind when I created this. It's the idea that you can write the story about any keepsake, especially the ones tied to past roles, and in doing so, you permanently capture the meaning and memory. For me, this simple practice keeps revealing purpose in my life. And it's not just about decluttering. It's a way to untangle your identity from old roles, which is essential for finding your present-day purpose, your Ikigai. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I use this practice using 3 items from my life, and I'll share some big reasons why this simple act of writing is so powerful for clearing your mind and improving your well-being. Before I even show you the examples, let's talk about why the act of writing about these keepsakes is so incredibly powerful. Dr. James Pennebaker, a pioneer in expressive writing, has spent decades studying the effects of writing about emotional experiences. He found that when you organize complex feelings onto paper, you reduce what he calls the burden of inhibition, that mental and physical weight of holding difficult emotions in, which is a fancy way of saying, once you write it down, your brain can let go. Journaling can do this for us. I've been journaling ever since I was a kid. I kept diaries, which is a form of journaling. But journaling about our keepsakes can help us process a lot of emotional weight that they carry. Writing about their story, whether they hold joy, guilt, grief, or disappointment, clears the mental clutter that keeps you stuck. But the benefits of journaling don't stop there. This simple practice is actively building a clearer, more purposeful life. When you write down your keepsake story, it often helps you come up with a decision whether to keep it or let it go. It immediately improves your clarity and problem solving simply by getting your thoughts onto paper. Journaling solidifies memories, turning recollections into reliable, long-term stories. Your journal acts as a memory consolidation tool. It's a memory catcher. And the perfect legacy for passing down your life stories. When you intentionally write down what you value, you train your brain to notice and appreciate your current joy. This habit of appreciation makes your daily purpose, your Ikigai, so much clearer. So here's where this all ties back to the authentic Okinawan concept of Ikigai. Remember, for me, Ikigai isn't a complex career diagram. It's a way of being. It's finding purpose and meaning that comes from noticing your daily joys and living with intention. And here's the key realization. So much of our emotional weight comes from hanging on to our old roles, like the role of art student or sports mom. These roles change, but the items associated with them keep our minds anchored in the past. This method is a tool for identity work because it helps you make that crucial separation. Your identity, who you are, the love you gave, the skills you learned, is fixed and permanent. Your role, on the other hand, is what you did, and that was temporary. Oftentimes, the items you're holding on to are symbols of those expired roles, and they create a fear that if you let go of the symbol, you let go of the achievement. And this journaling method helps you separate the story from the stuff, so you can release the role while keeping the meaning, thereby clearing the path for your present-day Ikigai. Keepsake journaling just feels good. It's a way of honoring that item, its story, and the person you were at that time. So the method of keepsake journaling, writing the story, can absolutely be done in any notebook. The practice is the key, but maybe this sounds familiar. I just don't know what I would write. I realized we needed a tool to solve the blank page problem. So I created this specific tool called Keepsake Stories, a guided journal of cherished and remembered keepsakes. It's designed to help you honor the story behind the item, so you can release it or keep it with intention. You do not need this journal to start. A simple notebook is enough, but if prompts help you, this is for you. So before we dive into the examples, let me explain how the journal is structured because it's really simple. There are two main sections, cherished and remembered. The cherished section is for items you're intentionally keeping. One prompt is, what does this keepsake bring to my life now? And the remembered section is for items you've already let go of or items you're ready to release. A prompt from this section is, what will stay with me after the item is gone? And the reason these two sections matter is because not everything needs to be donated or thrown away. Our keepsakes deserve to stay, but it's great to know why we're keeping them so they just don't become clutter that weighs you down. Okay, let's walk through 3 examples. Maybe you have a keepsake from a chapter of your life that ended naturally. It's bittersweet, but it feels complete. There's pride, maybe a little nostalgia, but no regret. For you, that might be a diploma, a wedding dress, a baby blanket, or something your child outgrew. For me, it was my older daughter's varsity softball jacket with a broken zipper. She played softball from the time she was 4 years old all the way through college. She was a starter on her college team. That jacket represented 18 years of early morning practices, weekend tournaments, scraped knees, and so much pride. And when she graduated and moved on, I held on to that jacket for a long time. Not because I thought she'd wear it again, but because it felt like letting go of an entire era of our lives. Maybe you felt that too. You know the chapter is over. You know the item isn't serving a purpose anymore, but it still feels hard to release it because it represents so much time, so much love, and so much of who you were during that season of life. So I used the remembered section of the journal. I wrote about that jacket. And then I answered the prompt, what will stay with me after the item is gone? And so I wrote, the pride I felt watching her play, the early morning talks where we talked about everything, the community of parents who became friends, the lesson that dedication pays off, the way she learned to handle disappointment and celebrate wins. All of that stays with me. The jacket was just fabric. The memories are mine forever. The jacket isn't what holds those memories. I do. The pride I felt, the lessons she learned, the time we spent together. That's all still here. The story is mine to keep, a permanent part of my identity. So if you have something like that, a keepsake from a chapter that ended well, but you're still holding on to it out of habit or fear, this is where the remembered section can give you permission to let go. You're not erasing the story, you're just releasing the object. Now, sometimes a keepsake comes from a chapter that ended really well, like my oldest daughter's. It's bittersweet, but it feels complete. But maybe there's a keepsake that's not like that. Maybe the chapter ended in a way you didn't want. Maybe there's guilt or regret or a feeling of, if I had done something differently, would things have turned out better? If you have a keepsake like that, where the story feels unfinished or painful, that's where this journal has surprised me the most. For me, one of those items was my younger daughter's volleyball parent t-shirt. Maybe you've had a child who stepped away from something you thought was really good for them. A sport, an activity, a school, a group of friends. And suddenly, you're not just letting go of a schedule or a routine. You're letting go of a version of your child you thought was safe. My younger daughter played volleyball through middle school and part of her freshman year. She was so good, and I loved watching her play. And I'll be really honest with you. I didn't just love it because she was good at it. I loved it because it felt like a safe, wholesome space. Practices, games, team dinners, it all felt like a little container where she was surrounded by good people and good structure. So when she decided she didn't want to play anymore, it was really hard. She chose a different path, and I had to let go of the version of her I thought volleyball would protect. That's why I held on to that parent t-shirt for so long. It felt like it was all of my hopes of keeping her in a wholesome, contained bubble. Maybe you have something like that too. Could be a uniform, wedding favor, maybe a baby outfit. The thing itself is simple, but the story behind it is really complicated. I used the remembered section and answered the prompt, what will stay with me after the item is gone? My love for her, exactly how she is, my hope for her future, whatever path she chooses, the acceptance that I can't control her story, and that's okay. Realizing that my job isn't to keep her safe in one way. It's to love her through all her choices. That stays with me even when the shirt is gone. I realized I was trying to keep the version of my daughter who was still on the team. I was holding on to the belief that if I could just keep her in volleyball, everything else might fall into place. But when I followed that prompt, what will stay with me after the item is gone, I realized that it was much more important for me to really hear her, that volleyball wasn't what she wanted. And if I had kept pushing it, I would have pushed her away, maybe forever. The shirt wasn't what made me love her. The sport wasn't what made her valuable. What stays, even after the shirt is gone, is my love for her, my hope for her, and also my acceptance that I can't control her story. Letting go of the shirt didn't mean I was giving up on her. It just meant I was loosening my grip on that one very special version of her life. If you're holding on to something like that, a keepsake that carries guilt or fear or what ifs, this is where the remembered section can be such a relief. You're not forcing yourself to throw it away. You're giving yourself space to tell the truth about why it's hard. And in that process, you might discover that what you're really trying to hold on to doesn't actually live in the object. It lives in your memories, in your love, in the lessons you've learned. Those can stay with you even if the item doesn't. For some keepsakes, like that volleyball shirt, the journal helped me release something that I was holding on to too tightly. But there are other items where once you've written through the story, you absolutely know that this needs to stay. That's where the Cherished section comes in. And for me, one of those items is a little plush toy that belonged to our cat Ariel. She passed away and I know I'm keeping this. Maybe for you it's a piece of jewelry from someone you lost, or a mug you used to use every day, or a quilt your grandmother gave you. These aren't items you need to justify keeping, but sometimes it helps to write down why they matter, so they don't just blend into the background of your life. Ariel had this little plushie that she carried around everywhere. She'd sleep with it, bat it across the floor, bring it to me like a gift. And after she passed, that toy became one of the most precious things in my home. I'm not letting that one go, but I wanted to use the Cherished section to honor why it matters. The prompt in this section says, what does this keepsake bring to my life now? So I wrote about what that toy represents. It will always remind me of Sweet Ariel. This plushie brings me comfort every time I see it. It reminds me of Ariel's playful spirit and the unconditional love she gave us. It's not just a reminder of Ariel. It's a reminder of the love and presence she brought into our home. It's a small, soft object that holds a huge amount of comfort. And by writing that down, I'm not just keeping it out of habit or guilt. I'm keeping it intentionally. I know why it's here. I know what it gives me. So if you have items like that, things you know you're keeping, but you've never really paused to articulate why, the Cherished section gives you a space to do that, because intentional keeping is just as important as intentional letting go. So if you're ready to try the keepsake journaling method for yourself, here's what I recommend. Start with one item, just one. Something that's been sitting in a closet or a drawer, and every time you see it, you feel a little tug of guilt or confusion. Ask yourself, is this something I want to keep intentionally? Or is this something I've already let go of? Or am I ready to release it? And then write honestly. You don't have to share it with anyone. This is just for you. You can add drawings or photos, stickers, but you don't have to. Also, I really recommend not being too precious with it. Scribble, cross things out. It can be messy. A lot of good things come out of messiness. What you'll find is that the act of writing gives you clarity. It separates the emotion from the object, and it helps you make a decision that feels right, not because someone told you what to do, but because you've honored the story and given yourself permission to move forward. I created this journaling method with you in mind, but I realized I needed it to clear some of the mental clutter of my past roles. I really do think it can help you make space for your present day purpose, your Ikigai. The guided prompts in the Keepsake Journal will remove some of the fear of a blank page, making the practice easy to start. Whether you use my journal or your favorite notebook, what matters is that you start capturing the stories. If you're interested in purchasing a copy, I'll leave the Amazon link in the description below. If you watched my Ikigai video and thought, okay, but how do I find my daily purpose? This is a simple and easy way to start. Your old past roles deserve to be honored, not erased. You deserve to feel lighter, clearer, and more present for the life you have now. If you're interested in my other videos about finding your simple daily purpose, here's a video and a playlist. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you find wellness today and every day. See you next time. The cherished section gives you a